So you are probably trying to apply to some university. It might actually be the University of Edinburgh, and you're just going through YouTube trying to find a video about applying to the University of Edinburgh, but really the only thing you can find is videos about applying to Oxford and Cambridge, and that's a little bit frustrating. So this is what happened when I was trying to sort of find a little bit of information about what it's like applying to the University of Edinburgh as a postgraduate. But the only things I could find were pretty much applying through UCAS, and mostly people specifically applying for Oxbridge, which is understandable, but I still decided to make a video about applying to the University of Edinburgh, as that's what I did. So I'm gonna tell you my story and then the process of actually applying. It's almost 2 years ago now that I started looking into the master I wanted to do. I didn't want to continue at the university I'm currently at, so I ended up Googling something like Master Philosophy of Mind or Master Philosophy of Cognitive Science. The first result that popped up was the University of Edinburgh. I suspect this was partly because I was planning to go on a trip to Edinburgh already, so I had been Googling Edinburgh. So I think my search engine was a little bit biased. I looked through like an overview of what the master was like, and I was like, this seems pretty close to what I want from a master. Because I had already planned a trip there, I started emailing people asking whether I could talk to them about whether I would fit the program. I talked to a student and the acting program director, and both conversations sort of went in the direction as, yes, probably you would be a good fit for the program. I was like, okay, this is a realistic option now. I visited Edinburgh for the third time when I went to the open day. I really just fell in love with the atmosphere. If you're able to make it to an open day, I definitely advise trying to go to an open day if you can. I mean, I understand it's not possible for everyone, but it definitely helps. So I made my decision that my top choice for my postgraduate was Mind, Language and Embodied Cognition at the University of Edinburgh. And now we're really getting into the application process. Actually, they said apply as soon as you can. However, like I couldn't apply already because the applications weren't open yet for September 2018. You were able to see what kind of things you need. So I started to accumulate all the things that you need to apply. Like when you click on the website, I want to apply, there is one screen before you actually like make an account and start the actual application that you can check out to see what you need. Since I couldn't start the actual application process, I just mostly started writing my personal statement, which is the main chunk of what you need to do. Asking people whether they want to reference me. However, you don't need to ask for the actual references. You leave the email address of your referee with the university and they'll email that person. There wasn't a lot more that I could do before starting my application because stuff like transcript of records, I'm still taking courses, so I wanted to have the most up-to-date version of that. But I started figuring out how I could get it, where I could get it, what I needed to do to get it, how long it would take, stuff like that. So I started preparing it and all, but I couldn't start the application procedure yet. In the meanwhile, it sort of also started to dawn on me that I was just applying to one program at one university, and if they would reject me, I didn't know what I was going to do yet. I was like, I need a plan B, that is my safety net, so that I can feel relaxed when I go through the application for Edinburgh. So I was like, I think there is one option that I should look into more, and that was a master in the Netherlands, in Utrecht. I went to the open day, and it turned out to be a pretty good plan B. It wasn't so good that I started doubting my decision to want to go to Edinburgh, but it was definitely like, this is a very reasonable plan B. So when I had that settled, I was like, okay, now I'm ready to do the application for Edinburgh. Then the time came that I could start my application. I went through it, filled in all the basic questions, and then I came to the personal statement tab, and I figured that there is 2 things you need to hand in there. There's your personal statement and relevant knowledge. So initially I'd written a personal statement that included all my relevant knowledge, and then I figured out there was also a relevant knowledge section, and I split it up again. Because they don't tell you in advance about the relevant knowledge section, they only tell you about a personal statement. You might feel like, oh, the personal statement is really the part where I'm gonna convince them, and the relevant knowledge section doesn't really attract you to start like convincing them in that section as well, but they're both the same size. Really, there's a lot of space in this relevant knowledge section that you can use. That's the place that I used to explain why what I know and the skills that I have and what I've done in the past makes me a great applicant. The personal statement I kind of used more to explain why I wanted to do that program. I rewrote my personal statement to be more of a, your course is the best for me and I specifically want to do your course and this is why I'm very motivated for this course and this is why I think this course is the course for me. Then I have this other thing during my application. I am not from the UK. I'm from the Netherlands, which means I live in a, this is important information, I live in a, not in a country that is speaking English for the majority. The University of Edinburgh obviously wants to know whether your English is good enough for their postgraduate degrees. So they have language requirements. There are several ways to fulfill them. Either having studied at a university in English in a majorly English-speaking country, or having in the last 2 years done any of these certificates. Stupid thing is, I did do my bachelor degree in English. It's taught and accessed in English, everything. It's English. However, I live in the Netherlands, so didn't quite fulfill that requirement, but I almost did. Also, I passed my CPE. However, that was in 2012, which is obviously more than 2 years ago. So I kind of fulfilled that requirement, but not completely. I mean, like when I did my CPE, after that I've studied in English for 4 years, 5 years by the time I come to Edinburgh. Really, I speak English. And at the open day they told me, don't start doing your tests yet because you might just be admitted without them. So just start your application. Then I figured out in my application, they ask you twice whether you have been taught and assessed in English. The first time, it doesn't have the small letters that say in a majorly English-speaking country. So I answered yes, there. Then the second time, it did have the thing about the English-speaking country, so I answered no there. And then I uploaded my CPE because it said, if you haven't been taught and assessed in English in a majorly English-speaking country, then upload your certificate here. So I uploaded it. And I was like, I really, really, really do not want to redo a Cambridge exam. It's just gonna stress me out very much and cost me a lot of money that I don't want to spend on redoing an exam that I already passed. I just filled it in and I was like, I hope they don't get too confused about this and start rejecting me because my application is a little chaotic. So, now I've sent in my application, I finished all the things. My referee was 1 day late with handing in the reference, but it didn't say I'd been rejected immediately, so it was fine. When you send in, you get an email saying, we'll let you hear in like 10 working days whether everything is okay. 12 working days later. Thank you for your application to the University of Edinburgh. Provided. Receive the information that we require to make a decision on your application. We will now consider your application fully and will make a decision within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, so really they haven't decided anything, they just told me it's fine. So I was like, okay, they'll consider it now. It will probably be the end of March before I hear anything. I just got an email that changes have been made to my application, so I'm going to log into the application hub right now. That was way quicker than I expected. I did get an offer. Note, it is a conditional offer, but I'm feeling confident in meeting the conditions because it's basically finishing my bachelor, not also taking an English test, so I'm just like, yes. Okay, that was my application story, and see you later.